talking about women in secularism, the challenges we face and how we can overcome them together, addressing what inherent sex actually brings to the table and whether or not there is actually sexism in the secular movement. And then she's going to tell us about what's influential secular women and how they achieve success at like local, national, regional level. Lavada is a former co-director of the Southeastern Wisconsin Freethinkers, SWIFT, and a founding member of Free Thought Alliance Milwaukee. She helps plan and organize community events and organization for all of the awesomeness that happens in southeastern Wisconsin. She did post a fantastic link on our Facebook group, so you can find it right on your internets right away if you are part of our Facebook group. If you're not, go ahead and join it. All is welcome. So yeah, without any further ado, Lavada Luening.
The last speaker. I was also in debate when I was in high school. What? Second stage? Yeah. And he's totally right about when you have something you want to convince people of, you have to explain to them the problem. And with the problem with women in secularism, that is a problem I've met great resistance with people simply admitting to. So, what I'd first like to do is, like the gentleman said, is make some definitions. I want to define sexism, I want to define misogyny, and I want to define feminism, okay? Oh, and I want to see this slide. This is the best. Okay, here we go. All right, so obviously sexism is a word that has a lot of negative connotation, and it can happen to men or to women. It can happen to women from women and men. It can happen to men from women and men. It can happen to transgender people. It can happen to a lot of people. So sexism is more than just men against women. And misogyny is something that I think comes from religion a lot, and it's worse than sexism in the fact that it's an actual contempt, an active dislike for women and femaleness and a woman's body and disgust at such things. But the most important definition in here is feminism. And feminism to me is about equality. And there's another word that people like to use, which is egalitarianism, which means essentially the same thing. But I think words are important. And I use feminism specifically because I want to work for women's issues. And the word feminism highlights all the action that we can do together to raise women up in the movement, to help women and women's issues be recognized throughout the movement so that the movement can move forward with both sides participating. Okay, is sexism in the secular movement real? Like the gentleman said, you have to ask a question. And many of us do not recognize that sexism is a real problem in the movement. I've heard it said, what are you talking about? There is no woman problem. Actually, yes, there is a woman problem in our movement. I understand at times it can seem like a personal attack. Perhaps men are unconscious of their inherited privilege. Men in this movement need to become self-aware and re-examine the little sexist things they say and do, as well as the big ones. Misogyny is ingrained in irrational thinking, rooted in the religiously tainted culture we've been raised in. It takes a lot of time and challenging of sexist beliefs for them to come around to the reality that they are contributing to sexism with their words, actions, and inactions. Sexist men and women are failing to understand why women and women's issues are important to the secular movement's ultimate success. When men or women use terms like aggressive, abrasive, shrill, divisive, bitchy, pushy, hostile, belligerent, or combative to describe women who are ambitious, persistent, energetic, determined, motivated, and powerful, it reinforces stereotypes that make women behaving like men somehow deviant or less than feminine. Seeing femaleness as inherently bad while rejecting and dismissing feminist issues is reactionary. Additionally, the word feminism has a similar stigma as does the word atheist. Sometimes just my male peers can be viewed as divisive and abrasive behavior. Be wary of such mindsets. Science-based thinking, reason, and logic should not be reserved from a girl's upbringing. Critical thinking is a skill that all children should learn. Can sexism hurt men too? Why should men be feminists? Men in the secular community feel threatened by the inclusion of issues that go beyond the mainstays of the secular movement, such as church-state separation and the protections of reproductive freedom. They want to silence activists who want secularism to address broader issues of social justice, economic equal opportunity, and racism. Many in the movement, both women and men, say those should be secular issues. Contraception and women's health is a secular issue that can affect entire families. Equal pay for women can help secular families support themselves and ease the man's breadwinner load. Dangerous talk such as you hit like a girl or you run like a girl hurts both girls who are relegated to a standard that is implicitly inferior to boys and boys who are emasculated by the comparison. We have to work to compensate for cultural indoctrination of gender roles for both boys and girls by changing our behavior as well as modeling feminist behavior to our children. We can expect that this change may feel uncomfortable, but such is the growing pains of a society. Gosh, I'm so bad at this PowerPoint thing. This is my first time out of Wisconsin doing. Okay. All right. Everyone is affected by the attack on gender equality. LGBT civil rights and contraception by the religious right, social justice, and economic stratification, as well as a science-literate population are just a few of the issues that are at risk. The potential block of secular women is huge, and we can use these votes to make our voices heard. Individual women and their stories matter. We as skeptics should listen if we are to bring about real change. Most men have female loved ones who will benefit from their secular female feminist activism. Sexism and misogyny are limiting the movement's progress by underutilizing half of the potential resources. Secularism is in a better position to fight for women and minorities issues because we reject religious dogma and misogyny that religion has been a major part of for centuries. The movement until recently has reflected the interests of those who are involved, mostly white, middle-aged academic males. Decisions are not made by those who are right or correct. They are made by those who show up. We need more women and minorities as leaders to better represent the other half of the equation. Women's issues, people of color minority issues, LGBT community issues are all issues that touch on skepticism and critical thinking. Secularism should be a shining beacon of equality, but right now it is not. More and more people are identifying as not. There are growing demographics that our movement should be addressing and reorienting ourselves towards. According to the latest demographic study by the Pew Research Center, released in May 12th of this year, in the article, America's Changing Religious Landscape, the trend is undeniable. Highlights in this report include that fewer women are religious nuns, but the religiously unaffiliated are growing among women at the same rate as men. Nearly 1 in 5 women, 19%, now describe themselves as religiously unaffiliated, and that's up from 13% in 2007. Besides the sandwich. There has recently been a change for the better. For one, women are equally represented in leadership positions at the major secular organizations. There are women at the helm of the Freedom of Religion Foundation and the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, among others. Positive feminist secular role models are out there, but we can do better. We, as a whole secular movement, need to know our own history. There have been many positive female role models in the past. Among the list of women who have founded secular groups are Annie Laurie Gaylord and her mother Anne Nicole Gaylord, who fight for human rights, secular civil rights, as well as feminist activism with their work for the FFRF. Another good example is American Atheist founder Madeline O'Hare. There were even women freethinkers in the 1900s that were celebrated and published, but sadly they were still left out of the histories and anthologies. Until 150 years ago, the biblical subjugation of women was the operational norm of Western society. And sadder still, it is still lurking within us in some social situations. The women's movement itself was founded by female freethinkers. Let's not forget the freethinkers in antiquity who were brave and outspoken even when the penalty was death. But the future of women in secularism starts with the students. Young women are beginning to see that secular values are in their best interests. Young females, atheists, secular, and freethinker activists are who are going to be shaping the movement in the future. These women, many of whom will go on to start their own families while passing these secular values to their children, are underserved and unsupported by the secular community. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Secular mothers raise secular children, and that's just one way to grow our movement. We should work harder to change the face of the movement. Do we really want to continue with the male-centric public image we currently project? Do we want closeted atheists to see that there are women in this movement and the movement understands their needs? I think so. Involving more women will also create a shift in class in the movement, and for those who lack not the mind, but the opportunity. Encompassing more secular women and minorities, addressing their issues while occupying a space in the education system takes advantage of the demographic currently being absorbed by religion, to our country's detriment. There is a place for secular women to take back charity and service in the name of humanity instead of God or proselytization. Secular social justice provides a safety net that can and will make church charity irrelevant. Get on the PTA boards, get on the school boards, run for office, vote for secular female candidates. More secular, skeptical, atheist women need to write op-eds and get on the news. Until there are more women in positions of power who don't have to concede points just to get anything at all, we will continue to deal with these issues. How can we overcome the challenges we face together? Take action at the grassroots level to move the female agenda into the mainstream of the secular movement. Work to actively shift or broaden the movement's interest towards female involvement and focus on women's issues by doing things such as make efforts to get more male attendance at conferences addressing women's issues. Consciously choose women-friendly venues for social activities that are educational as well as emotionally supportive. This includes providing childcare during the events that is educational, emotionally supportive, and age-appropriate for the children. Hold secular conferences that have at least 50% female speakers. This will attract more female attendees while thusly helping raise the profile of atheism, secularism, and skepticism in the general population. Participate in coalition building with organizations that help women and minorities. Help provide social welfare outlets that are culturally responsive to the immediate needs of women and minorities. This includes educational scholarship, tutoring, as well as extracurricular activities that teach skills to prevent women and minorities from becoming irrelevant. Our movement needs to grow more feminist young men by acknowledging the inherent patriarchy, hypermasculinity, and heterosexism that fuels stereotypes. We can prevent gender discrimination, which is irrational and contrary to the general mission of our movement. Pop culture has an absence of female secularists as characters and subject matters, so look for and support female secular celebrities, and secular women themed entertainment. Buy their books, go to their films, write your own stories down, and get them published. Address questions about morality and moral support. Secularism should be a place where secular women can find others who fundamentally understand their diverse needs while helping them get it right when it comes to their children and their families. Assist in the dialogue between mothers and children regarding secular values like equality, religious liberty, reason, and logic. Finally, use the internet to make our secular LGBTQ minority and women issues more visible to others inside and outside the secular movement. Thank you. All right, do we have any questions for me? I'm sure you all agree with everything I said, right? Go ahead.
So, not a question about secularism, but in my everyday job, I have a
I keep hearing that women aren't in secularism or aren't participating in secularism because we don't think that way, or we don't want to be, or we're not critical thinkers, or something like that. And the truth of the matter is women aren't as involved in the secular movement as they could be because they're not invited. They don't feel welcome. They don't feel safe. The movement isn't addressing the needs that they have. If you take a page from religion, I mean, I agree that religion is a bad thing, but it doesn't do everything bad. And one of the things it does really well is cater to the needs that women have, like childcare, and providing social networks for their children that grow with the children into adulthood and strengthen the bonds. If we can create those kind of environments, we can do so much more to grow, not just the other half of the population, including women, but also the children that come with the women. So, there you go. Richard?
Yeah, I'm a science teacher, and I teach high school and college physics. And one of the things that's always bothered me is in the upper level courses, I see way more males than females. So do you have any suggestions on what I can do or my colleagues can do to encourage more young women in science?
His question is about how to get more girls involved in the sciences and keep them involved into their adulthood while they're in college, physics and things like that. Well, first of all, you got to tell them that they can and that they're welcome, and stop rubbing their nose in the face that there aren't enough women, or that there aren't any women, and that it's a man's field and stuff like that. I have some young girls in my life, and I put pictures on their walls of women throughout the years that have been in sciences to help encourage them. I buy them little microscopes for Christmas, and I do science projects for them. Our block has a block party every year, and every year what we do at my house is we'll do a couple of science experiments that are fun for the kids, like maybe with bubbles or things like that, and just engaging people. It's not just engaging the children, it's engaging women at all, and the way we do that is we show them the things that are interesting and let them get interested. So that's how I would start.
I just wanted to make a couple of suggestions about this thing too. Like, those are a couple of organizations that are kind of focused on getting women more skilled skills, and maybe like inviting like professional women in science and teach their classes. Like seeing women actually doing it is definitely motivating. It's like, oh, if you can do it, then I can do it as well. So I think that's really good.
So I get one more question. Tom?
Yeah. I noticed that one of the problems with encouraging young girls is basically kind of opposite your mothers. Your mothers have brought us things. Girls would act that. That's the big thing with your daughter. I try to act and your mother is like, that's my girlfriend. And I feel a lot of mothers teaching daughters the way they were.
That's a very good example of women being sexist. So, there's so much indoctrination that we in the secular community spend a lot of time deprogramming people from. And it's unfortunate that we're going to have to deprogram some girls from misogyny and sexism that is put into them by their very own mothers and female family members. But the best thing you can do is encourage them, show them examples of people who have already done it, provide them with the education they need, the support they need, and point them in the direction of the resources that can help them. And that's one of the things that I really try hard to do as an activist. I'm not always an activist for myself. I'm an activist for the future. I'm an activist for my nieces. I'm an activist for people who don't have a voice. So if we can give them those resources that they need and let them just fly on their own, we will see how successful women can be. I mean, I have faced some criticism for my own general boisterousness and, loudmouthedness or whatever, and you just have to encourage women to be themselves and to go after their dreams, whatever those dreams are. Some of those girls might want to be astronauts, some of those girls might want to be doctors, some of those girls might want to be strippers. You have to leave it up to the girl to decide what she wants for herself and then support that decision. If you educate them, hopefully they'll make the right decision.